My why is about what memories did I create, what legacy did I leave behind, and what impact did I leave for others in the community and, for causes and people that I really deeply care about.
Your network is your net worth. Come listen to some of the most successful people I know share invaluable knowledge, stories, and advice in real estate, business, and beyond. This is Weiss Advice. Whether you want to take your business or personal life to the next level, look no further. Welcome back to another episode of Weiss Advice. I am your host, Yonah Weiss. Excited to be here today with another great guest here. We have Siyavash Fooladian on the show, all the way from sunny Los Angeles. Welcome. How are you?
Good. Thanks, Yonah. Thanks for having me on.
A pleasure. It's not every day we have someone from Los Angeles on the show. But no, I grew up in LA. I'm fond of it, just much fonder of it from a distance. But it's definitely good to have you. For our listeners who don't know who Sia is, you are a medical doctor who has transitioned into real estate. And that's not the most common path you would find. You don't find too many doctors, although we have actually had a couple on the show previously that have taken, real estate and gone from, being a full-time, not only physician, but also a professor of medicine as well, as I believe. And I'd love for you to just give a little background to our listeners who may not know who you are yet.
Well, thanks a lot for having me, Yonah. As Yonah said, I'm an anesthesiologist. I like to say that I'm a recovering anesthesiologist, and I don't mean by drug use. I mean by just using, one career path as the only way to financial freedom and retiring early and just really living life on your terms. And, I've practiced full time for over a decade, and, life takes you for twists and turns, and you learn things through the process and kind of makes you shift. And one of those shifts was that, as much as I love medicine, it's like any full-time job, it's a grind. It creates, loss of time freedom. And I wanted that back. So I started to explore things that I've always been passionate about, but I always made an excuse for myself saying, oh, I can't do that because I'm not a real estate agent. I don't know anything about real estate. And I flipped that script on its head and basically said, I can and I will. If I got through medical school, I got through residency at UCLA, very, demanding profession, being, taking care of very sick patients in the cardiac anesthesia room, then I can definitely learn real estate master and do it on a high level. So I'm protecting our investors, risk and optimizing their upside. So
right. It's
been a really fun journey. And I, as Yonah said, I don't practice full-time anymore. I actually do about one day a week. And I'm a volunteer professor, assistant clinical professor at a university in Southern California, helping residents and doing some cases. So I can still practice and do the things I like to do in medicine, which is international medical trips for free to help, others in different countries who don't have access to the same exceptional healthcare that we have. So
that's amazing. It's so interesting. We actually had Dr. Julius Oni, who's on the show as well. Oh, you know him.
Great guy, orthopedic surgeon in Baltimore. Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, guy. Awesome. So he mentioned something very similar, although he's very passionate about medicine and has been, but, real estate has become a full-time passion for him, but he still loves to do these international, trips to help give care to patients in countries that, can't really have it or don't have the access to it. So that's amazing.
100%.
Well, and something that struck me, what you mentioned over here, Sia, is that the tenacity you need to complete medical school and residency is something that is very, very difficult, right? And it would seem that a lot, you can, have the ability to do that in another profession as well, whether it be real estate or whether it be anything you really put your mind to. Obviously, you have to have a drive, a passion to want to get a degree in medicine as well as to become a practicing doctor. But as you said it yourself, it was like there were some of these limiting beliefs that you couldn't change career paths or you couldn't, go into real estate or do something else full time, when in fact, you actually have, and many of us have so many of these skills and talents already in us that it's a mindset shift more than anything else.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest takeaway I've had by just going through my 30s, different stages. It really is it is a mindset, and we really limit ourselves based on the words I am, and then whatever you put after it, or I can, or I can't.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you say that, it's more or less, a self-fulfilling prophecy. Sometimes you say I can, or not even I can, I will, and you'll give it your 100%. And sometimes it doesn't work out, but if you stop there, then that's where the real, limitation also comes back into play. It's, one quote unquote failure is just a lesson on the path of where you're supposed to be. Maybe that's not exactly where your end goal was, and it's helping you pivot, but you have to be open and receptive and able to pivot and take that as a listen, take it on the chin. As we know, entrepreneurs, business, everyone in business, everyone in life, you don't bat 1,000. No one does,
Right.
And if someone strikes out and then, has an outcome that's not in their favor or what they really wished it was, and you just stop there, then, where's your life? Where's your potential going to take you? So it's just about cleaning yourself up, getting back out there, learning the lessons and applying them. But also never I think the big thing is just believing in yourself. If you have your deeper why do I want to do this? Then you're going to get it done one way or another. It doesn't matter, how you get it done, it's going to happen, but really have to drill down and understand your why. If your why is wishy-washy, if it's purely for money, 99% of the time, that's not going to work out, because money's not going to be a big enough driving force to get you to the peak when things get really tough.
Absolutely. Yeah. Money is a very weak driving factor, although it can get you certain places and can allow you to have the ability to have a little more time freedom. As I heard someone recently mention, having a lot of money is, maybe called being rich, if you were to, but wealth is really true freedom. And that's a big difference. But what is that for you? You mentioned having a why and really being driven by that. Have you drilled that down, or is it ever evolving for you?
It's both. I went through a stage of, burnout in career, and, I went through divorce, and it kind of hit a point where I really need to really dig deep and reestablish my why. And just to say, not to say that, money is, money's not going to be the big enough why. Obviously, it's really nice to have. It solves a lot of problems. But if that's the sole reason, it's going to fall flat on its face. It's got to be deeper than that. For me, I'm an immigrant, and, we started from very humble beginnings. We had support, but, it took my dad and my mom working, very hard, 6-7 days a week to get my brother and I to, a place where we can go for the American dream. And, I'm a doctor. My brother became a lawyer. And, in everyone's eyes, that's like, oh, wow, your kids are doctors, lawyers. But, for us, it also became a career that had limitations. It really, for me, the why came down to when I look back, on my last days, my why is about what memories did I create? What legacy did I leave behind? And what impact did I leave for others in the community? And, for causes and people that I really deeply care about. When I step back from it, medicine was one way of doing it, but full time sometimes becomes a little bit more of a job than an actual passion and a calling. For me, it was about creating time freedom to then create the memory, legacy, and impact that anyone can create. And it's not an easy thing to do or dream or strive for, but that's really what it comes down to, is legacy, impact, and memories.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I think those are the right, a line of thought for a lot of people who, come to this, middle age or whatever it is, like career path, where you just get a little burned out and you're like, is this really what it's all about? What?
You just call me middle-aged.
I think we're the same age, so I think it's fair enough. But, see, what was your actually first introduction into real estate? I know a lot of people have different paths in finding that. I know your focus now with TitanCor is multifamily specifically, but was that your first introduction into the real estate space?
No, I think my first introduction, the concept of, rental properties was probably back when I was an undergrad at UCLA. And that's, I had friends who, we stayed in the dorms, and then we went and rented apartments in Westwood or in West LA. And I had friends whose, families or, they themselves, scraped and got the down payment for a house back then in Westwood or in West LA, and they bought their place. And then it was a 2-bedroom. They rented out the other one to another college student. They lived in the other one. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. I wish I could do that. Again, it was that limiting belief that, oh, they're so lucky they're doing it because their parents can or whatever. And then, looking back, I look at, I was at UCLA for 5 years with the gap year, went to DC for medical school, and I had friends there, same thing, who bought their places right when they came to DC, stayed for 4, 6, 8 years, whatever it was. And then I came back to, LA again. So in that span of, my training from undergrad all the way through residency is about 12, 13 years. I lived in multiple places, and I really could have bought each time I moved to a different city. And 20 years, 15, 17 years later, all of those properties would have been paid off and cash flowing, because there's always a demand for someone to live in those units when I'm not there, in, high density areas with universities. And, I kick myself, but, you don't live life in the rear view. You take it as a lesson,
Right.
And then you get into the game. But even when I came out of fellowship at UCLA, I still, had a limited money, but I didn't apply how and who I needed to make, that real estate a play in my financial freedom. And they don't teach you financial literacy in medical school, in residency, coming out of residency. There's no mentors. You get a financial advisor and they tell you stocks and bonds and ETFs and this and that. But, that's another passion for me, is to, go back and teach residents, be like, listen, it's fine if you want to go this traditional career path. Let's help you not burn out. Let's help you be the highest level of yourself for your patients by developing some financial opportunities that are going to let you decide how many days a week you want to work. And I didn't have that choice, because I came out in that traditional thinking, that rich dad, more poor dad kind of mentality, that 401k, this is my salary. If I want to make more money, then I take more call. And that's a recipe for, for a lot of, pain in your own personal life, because you feel golden handcuffed. As amazing as it is to make a very, generous income, you're paying for it from personal time, physical tear down in your body, and you come out with a very high amount of student debt. So you're not really making as much as you think, and you're getting taxed at the highest tax rate. So you're walking away with, less than that. So real estate is an option to really shelter some of those things. And for me, it's fun. I like to see how we can make, communities better and, still make money for investors and ourselves.
It's a necessary path to take. I mean, like you said, you have most people, and obviously doctors are just one career path, but in your experience, no one gave you that financial education or what to do. Oftentimes you'll go into a career thinking this is going to be making me, relatively a lot of money, but don't really have any direction to what to do with that, or how to use that, or how to build wealth through that. And, I think it drives a lot of people, the potential high salary, but at the same time, it just gets blown, and people get stuck, like you said, in the golden handcuffs of just, staying in the job, even if they don't like it, because they don't really have options.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And teaching others, I mean, is really probably the best way to go about giving back, is just sharing what you've learned along the way. And there's so much that you've learned, because, you are where you are now. And through multifamily investing, through real estate, I think there's an opportunity, especially to help speak with your investors, but really anyone out there. And social media is a great way to do that, but not limited to that. That's something I've found in common with a lot of people getting into real estate space, is really they have this passion to share and to teach other people. I mean, in your capacity, you mentioned volunteering at a university to teach, what your actual, your skill set in anesthesiology. I mean, that's something that obviously has taken years and over a decade of really hard work to hone that skill, in that capacity, just to give back and to teach others and to share that, I think is a great opportunity. Are there any other medical professionals that you're in contact with that have any sort of community that you're a part of, that are focused on like real estate investing or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's actually surprisingly more than you think there are, but I think, last, several years, physicians have, started to educate themselves more. Still, if you look at the broad scope of how many physicians there are and how many physicians are actually involved, it's still a very small percentage. But I took back in 2019, 2022, I took online course through husband and wife real estate, who did, smaller projects, like learning how to, buy duplexes, triplexes, larger, like small multifamily, to, as you're, buy them, renovate them, also, increase the rents as they're under market, but also do a cost segregation study to really be able to achieve, some depreciation on it. And some of the people in the course went on to, get real estate professional status, So that's where I kind of started to really educate myself. And there's a community, there's other physicians who have, educational programs to help physicians. So I'm perfectly involved there. I know a lot of people in it. It's nice to have that same community and see that, there's other people doing the same thing in terms of syndicators, which is, buying large apartment complexes with investors' money with, returns projected for them. There's probably about 10 or 12 that I know have their own companies and, really good friends of mine as well. We've partnered with them. As you said, Dr. Oni, we've partnered with them on deals in the past and just really great people. So it's really nice to kind of be on the journey with them.
That's great. That's amazing. And I love to hear that because you have so much in common already and you're able to kind of not only have that synergy of the passion to drive towards, what you're working for, but at the same time, you have that commonality that you really understand each other because you've gone through the same path.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's great to network with. And this really goes for everyone, guys. I'm just thinking out loud here, but there are communities out there in the world, whether they're on Facebook groups or similar things, where you'll have groups of people in your profession that are focusing on real estate. I mean, we even had someone on the show not long ago who was in a big tech corporation, and they have communities and meetup groups within that corporation itself, like Apple, I think it was Facebook, where you have meeting like once a month or once every other week or something like that, where you have, the group of people together. So you have that shared common, experience of profession that you're in. And at the same time, you have the opportunity to really network with and grow outside of that. And I think that's really what you need to. I mean, this is what Sia's done. This is what anyone out there can do. There's really no limitation. And I say this over and over again on the podcast. There's no better time to start investing in real estate than today, right? Just, figure out your first step is listening to something like this and then, going out and taking action.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many there's too many options now. So you have to figure out, is it going to be Bigger Pockets? Is it going to be Facebook? Is it going to be whatever it is? A lot of people get, it's limitless, but we limit ourselves. And how we limit ourselves, like, oh, I don't want to look stupid on this platform. Oh, I don't know anything. Then learn something, Google, or join in. And some people can be really snarky and mean in communities, but, I learned a long time ago, I don't really care what other people think of me because I know what my intentions are. So if your intention is to go out there and learn, you're going to ask some dumb questions. I didn't get to the place I am in medicine or real estate by thinking I knew everything and not asking and sitting on the sidelines, and that you're going to feel stupid at some point, but it's part of the learning process. So just get out there and apply yourself. Really, as Tony Robbins says, you have to be monomaniacally focused on whatever your goal is and your intention is, total immersion and get involved. And in 6 months of doing that, whether it's, adding a morning routine, meditation, and reading daily podcast books, you're going to feel a lot different than you did the first day you started. And that's anything in life. So just get yourself out there and do it,
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. And obviously you've taken some of these paths with Tony Robbins and these type of, inspirational speakers and programs. Were you part of any other like mentorship or real estate group that has helped you kind of to accelerate that?
Yeah. After my divorce, hitting low, you really have to look, you always look inside, but it was about deconstructing what my beliefs were, what was true, what was false, and my identity, and rebuilding that. A lot of that, I did a lot of Tony Robbins. My uncle is a Fortune 100 CEO coach. So his book really helped me, and I started meditating, and I joined different groups, like I said, that husband, wife, physician, educational program. And then I'm an avid podcast listener, love yours. And it's a mixture of real estate, business podcasts, and also just life mindset kind of things. And then when my partner and I decided to go all into syndications, I just sold my individual, portfolio for over 2x return in about 12 to 18 months. I didn't know how to do that, so I did join. We had masterminds within our coaching community. I also hired a high level coach who's done it, paved the way, who's a physician, and we wanted to learn from the best. So it's about having mentors. Success leaves clues. So we hired him. Very big financial investment, but that's where it kind of helped us elevate into the next level of feeling comfortable with underwriting, with, understanding the financials of properties, kicking the tires, talking to brokers, doing all the due diligence. So that's how we really built our quote unquote expertise in this different field that's very foreign from, being a physician. And my
Sure.
my partner, Dr. Mickey Lake, is a cardiologist. So as you can tell, we both took that same career path away when it came down to mindset. So we did join the right masterminds, and I'm part of other masterminds right now just to keep me accountable as well.
Awesome. Amazing. It's really out there. Like you said, sometimes there are too many choices at this point, but you have to find something that works for you and just really jump in, because anyone can do this. Not saying that this is a path for everyone, as you know, but you got to find where your path is, and you got to invest in real estate. That's really the bottom line over here, whether it's actively or passively. I mean, there's really no excuse at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple ways to it, right? If you know your why, then it's about who and how you're going to get into that space. You don't have to be a syndicator, because it takes a lot of time. It's a lot of time. And financially, you have to put in to get out, but it's a lot of time to learn. So if you don't want, you're like, I don't want to do the active stuff. I have friends who just invest through us. It's going to be 1.5x and 3 to 5 years to get some tax breaks on it. Great. Like, let's rinse and recycle that. I'm going to set aside, this much every year. And if you do that every year consistently for 5 years, as we start to, sell other properties, you're going to get that return 1.5x plus your money back, in that 1.5x or more. That's a good amount of money that's coming back. And if for you, your why is, I want to go on vacation for 2 more weeks a year. And that's my definition of like, my why, or just be having more quality time, and I don't have to come back and work twice as hard when I take those 2 extra weeks of vacation. Yeah. That's a great outcome. That's how you can get to that, And as you said, one of my ways is doing medical trips. And I remember when I would go on medical trips, or, we went to Africa, went to Guatemala several times. I'd come back, and that was unpaid time off. I just take it. I come back and have to do basically what I do in a month in about 2.5 weeks to not have a drop off in income. So I didn't have the tools. I hadn't implemented the who's and the how's to come back and be like, I'm only working 2 weeks this month. That's it. I don't care, because I don't have to worry about it, because I have these other things in play. And, stocks and all that's great, but you can't really take it out because you get penalized, even if it's in your individual brokerage. If you have some other forms of multiple streams of passive income that are allowing you to do these things, that's really like, a nice way to, balance your life. So
absolutely. Love that. And it's really, I really could have said it better myself. That's really what it's all about. You got to know what your why is, as you mentioned before, and have your goals focus, so you can, do what you want to do and take time off when you want to take time off, and, do what's good for yourself, for your life, for the world. And I really love that you found that path for yourself and continue. Looking forward to see, where that takes you in the coming years. But I want to transition now to what we call the final 4. And these are 4 questions I ask all my guests. First question for you is, what's the worst job that you ever had?
I was back in high school, actually. I was a cashier at a local large supermarket in Riverside. And I started day 1, and it was 12-hour shifts. And they started me on day 1 stocking. And then the next day I was at the cashier, and I had no idea where anything was, what the codes were. So I'm flipping through the book for, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, trying to, learn everything. And it was a very stressful job. It was my first or second job. And I just remember just being, and just standing on your feet for 12 hours. It really made me appreciate what my dad did. He owned a gas station, or, worked at one, and he was on his feet for 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it really made me appreciate, wow, the manual labor portion of it, but it was brutal for me.
Wow, that's great. That does not sound like a good one, but it's funny. We've actually had a few people mention that type of job on the show before. So it's interesting when you hear
your cashiers.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Second question. What's a book you've read that's given you a paradigm shift?
A couple, actually. So one is, I've mentioned it a few times, it's Who, Not How. Mm-hmm. But, my business partner and I read this recently again, and it really helped us, because a lot of times we're so focused on, this is the outcome. How do I get there? And sometimes it's not about how, it's about who, which creates the how for you. And really it comes down to, the relationships you build. Life is a relationship business, not a business, but life is about relationships, whether it's personal, business, anything else. And building those relationships, there's always ability to, ask someone's skill that you don't have, and that's their how. You don't have to have the how do I get there. You just have to know the person who has the how, and then they help you. and you just, make sure everyone's made whole. And another book is Positive Intelligence by Shirzad Chamine, who is my uncle, and has written a book really about, that's more of a mindset thing for me, where, it talks about we all have these, limiting beliefs, and, our mind creates through saboteurs who say, oh, you can't do this, or you're this, you're that. And then there's a different part of your brain that if you exercise and you build the strength there, it's where the sages, where they give you the creativity to really say, oh, this sucks, that sucked, but what's next? How do I do that? You become empathetic, you become curious, you take action in a different direction. And those two things have really helped me progress in my career and personal life.
Right. Wow. Okay. Well, that's actually a new one, and good to hear the positive intelligence. We'll make sure to put both of those in the show notes. Thank you for sharing that. And third question is going to be, what's a skill or talent that you would like to learn? And this could be anything.
I really want to learn to surf. I know this is such a California thing to say, but surf and ski. I'm like a green skier. I just don't get out there enough. But surfing, I've kind of gone out there. But again, I didn't put myself in the best position. I went to Costa Rica during residency, and it was 14-foot waves at a surf camp, and I didn't really know how to swim very well. And I tried again in, Nicaragua on vacation. And, I want to go out in Southern California and, by the beach, learn, in a healthy way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that sounds like someone who grew up in LA and never surfed. I can relate to wanting to do that. But okay. Fourth and final question is going to be, what does success mean to you?
Success means to me, again, giving back. A lot of it is being able to help others not have to learn the hard way. That's one definition, like, as I said, I'm far from success, but success leaves clues. I just want to help others not go through the same path and have to, learn the lessons that are already laid out for them. Other portion is really, family time, creating memories, and really creating impact for me, which comes back to not financial necessarily, but the opportunity to go and do my medical missions, create like a foundation that can help others, give them access to opportunities that they don't have. So really, it's about legacy and, memories for me.
Love that. Awesome. Well, I wish you much continued success on your path that you're going, and really looking forward to see where this takes you, and really just appreciate you taking the time today to join us. Where can our listeners find you or reach out to you if they want?
We're on the World Wide Web at www.TitanCorCapital.com, without core, without the E. We're on LinkedIn and Instagram under the same handle. And you can always reach me on LinkedIn as well. And then our emails, my email is sia@TitanCorCapital.com. If you ever have any questions, want to reach out, say hi, happy to chat.
Awesome.
And I love your podcast. And I'm honestly, one definition of success for me is just being on your podcast, because I've always listened to it. I'm like, how do these guys get on here? This is so cool. And then to be able to actually be speaking to you and be on your podcast, for me, is a huge honor. And I really appreciate you letting me be on here and to chat with you.
Well, I appreciate that. It's a true honor. And I guess you can retire now, right? You've reached your goals. No, keep it up, keep going, keep sharing your story. Inspire other people. I really do appreciate you coming on the show. And thank you all for our listeners. You guys are awesome. Thank you for joining us all the way into the end once again. And remember, till next time, the best advice comes only when you ask. Real quick, I have one question for you. Did you like this episode? If you did, I want to ask you a huge favor. See, the biggest thing that helps this podcast grow and that will spread this message to the whole world is that if you leave a review, a rating, and subscribe to the podcast. What that does is it basically tells the platforms that this podcast is out on is that you like my stuff and I'm doing something right. So take a few seconds out of your day, hit that subscribe button, leave a rating or review. I would be extremely grateful. Also, I want to hear from you guys. So I want to hear some feedback. If you have any questions for future episodes, please find me on LinkedIn, send me a DM, connection request, Yona Weiss, and I'd love to hear from you.